For the last 2 seasons, there has been only one team Real Madrid could not solve. Not Bayern Munich, not Arsenal, not even themselves. It was Barcelona. Since Hansi Flick arrived at the Camp Nou, Barcelona have played Real Madrid 7 times in official competition. They have won 6 of them, 21 goals scored, only 9 conceded. 3 finals against their fiercest rival, the Spanish Super Cup, the Copa del Rey, and a title-deciding Clásico at the Santiago Bernabéu itself. And Barcelona won every single one of them. For the first time in over 120 years of this rivalry, Barcelona beat Real Madrid in 3 consecutive official finals. Not even Pep Guardiola's greatest Barcelona side managed that. And it wasn't close. It wasn't lucky. In the biggest game of the season, at the Bernabeu, with Kylian Mbappe expected to tear through their high defensive line, Barcelona destroyed Real Madrid 4-0. A masterclass. A statement. A warning. That is the version of Barcelona the rest of Europe should already be afraid of. Except that team is not even the finished product. Because this summer, Hansi Flick looked at a squad that had already won 5 trophies in 2 seasons, that had already gone an entire home league campaign unbeaten for the first time since 1959, that had already scored over 170 goals in a single season and decided it still wasn't dangerous enough. So he made it faster. Anthony Gordon arrived from Newcastle, a winger who doesn't want the ball to his feet to look good. He wants it played into space so he can run onto it and score. He proved it at the World Cup, setting up Jude Bellingham's goal against Norway and scoring the goal that sent England to the semi-final against Argentina. Karim Adeyemi arrived from Dortmund, one of the fastest players anywhere in world football, a man who once picked up a clearance in his own half and finished a counterattack 70 yards later like it was a training drill. Between them, Barcelona now have 2 players who can hit speeds most defenders in Europe simply cannot match. Gordon has been clocked close to 38 kilometers an hour. Adeyemi isn't far behind him. Now put that next to what was already there. Lamine Yamal, 19 years old, a World Cup winner, a player so dangerous that opposition teams no longer trust one defender to deal with him alone. They send 2, sometimes 3. Rafinha, a player who has scored twice and provided 3 assists in a single Champions League match. Ferran Torres, 21 league goals last season. Pedri, orchestrating the tempo of an entire team from midfield with the calm of someone twice his age. This is not a collection of talented individuals anymore. This is a machine built with one specific purpose: suffocate the opponent without the ball, destroy them within seconds of winning it back. And that should terrify every club in Europe, because Barcelona are no longer trying to prove they belong at the top. They already know they do. What they are building now is something else entirely, an attack designed to make sure nobody can catch them again. But here is the part that makes this story so much bigger than one transfer window. Barcelona were not always this team. Just 2 years ago, they were the punchline of European football. A club drowning in financial chaos, humiliated in a Clásico, eliminated from Europe in a way that made people question whether they even belonged in the conversation with the continent's elite anymore. The academy kids carrying a broken squad on their backs. No direction, no identity, no fear factor left at all. So what actually happened between that collapse and this? How did a club that couldn't even register new signings on time become the team every manager in Europe is now scared to face? To understand that, you have to go back to one of the most painful nights in Barcelona's recent history. A night in Paris that broke everything, and somehow ended up building something far more dangerous than what came before it. April 2024, Estadi Olympique Lluís Companys. Barcelona had just shocked Europe, beating Paris Saint-Germain 3-2 away from home to reach the Champions League quarterfinals for the first time in 4 years. For a moment, it actually felt like Barcelona were back. Then it fell apart. Vitinha scored. Ousmane Dembélé, once a Barcelona player himself, punished his former club. Kylian Mbappe finished the job. A lead in their hands, everything in their control, and Barcelona simply gave it away. It wasn't just a defeat. It was one of the most painful nights of the entire Xavi era, and it completed a genuinely miserable season. Inconsistent football. 3 straight losses to Real Madrid. Humiliated in a Spanish Super Cup final where Vinicius Jr. scored a hat-trick in 40 minutes. No league title, no cup, no European run to hold on to. Barcelona weren't just weaker than Europe's elite anymore. They looked like they no longer belonged in the same conversation as them. That is the club Hansi Flick walked into. And even his opening didn't inspire much confidence. A defeat to Monaco in a preseason friendly, the same old doubts creeping straight back in. Another manager, another rebuild, another club that had forgotten how to win. Then the season actually started, and everything changed. Barcelona won La Liga. They won the Copa del Rey. They won the Spanish Super Cup. 19 home league matches, 19 wins, a perfect record at the Camp Nou that hadn't been touched since 1959. 102 league goals. And the proof wasn't just in the trophy count, it was in how they were winning. Barcelona stopped simply keeping the ball to slow games down. They started using possession as a weapon to drag opponents out of position, and the moment they lost it, the entire team turned into a pack hunting it back. Pressing immediately, attacking before the opposition had a second to reorganize. This is where the attack really started to take shape into what it is today. Lamine Yamal, still a teenager, became the player defenders simply couldn't leave alone for even half a second. Rafinha's relentless movement between the lines dragged defenses apart, constantly opening gaps for the players around him. And it wasn't accidental chemistry either. Watch Barcelona's 7-0 demolition of Real Valladolid early in Flick's first season, and you'll see the pattern that would define the next 2 years. Yamal bursts forward with the ball, Rafinha times a run into the space that opens up between the center backs, and Yamal slides the pass straight through for the finish. Simple, repeatable, devastating. But Europe still wasn't done testing them. In the Champions League semi-final that same season, Inter Milan found a way to survive Barcelona's pressure and broke their structure late, turning the tie around in extra time. Heartbreak again, just a different opponent this time. Barcelona had come close enough to touch the final. Then it disappeared, exactly like it had against PSG a year earlier. Most teams would have needed years to recover from a wound like that. Barcelona didn't. The following season, they went even further. 19 home wins again. The first team in the 20-club history of La Liga to go entirely unbeaten at home across a full campaign. And on the 10th of May, they became champions in the most symbolic way possible, beating Real Madrid at the Camp Nou itself. The first time in the club's history they'd ever clinched the league title with a win directly over their biggest rival. Only one barrier remained. Atletico Madrid ended their European run again, this time in the quarterfinals. A red card, one moment of individual brilliance from Julian Alvarez, and Barcelona's Champions League dream died once more. So here is where this story actually gets interesting. 2 seasons, 5 domestic trophies, a rivalry with Real Madrid that Barcelona now dominate almost completely. And still, every single European campaign has ended in exactly the same kind of heartbreak, which means the 2026-27 season isn't just another year for Hansi Flick. It's the season everything he has built finally gets tested against the one thing that has escaped him twice in a row. Barcelona didn't respond to 2 straight European heartbreaks by playing it safe. They responded the way this club always does when it senses a weakness in itself. They attacked it directly. And the target this summer wasn't midfield control or defensive solidity. It was pace. Raw, uncatchable pace. That's exactly what Anthony Gordon and Karim Adeyemi bring. Not 2 more technically gifted forwards added to an already gifted squad, but 2 players whose entire game is built around one terrifying question for defenders. What happens when you simply cannot catch up? Put them either side of Lamine Yamal and Rafinha, and defenses no longer have a safe side of the pitch to protect. Load up on Yamal, and Gordon or Adeyemi punish the space it leaves behind. Try to contain the pace out wide, and Yamal or Pedri find room centrally instead. Every defensive solution just creates a new problem. This is where Hansi Flick's fingerprints are all over everything, even when he isn't the one on the ball. His entire footballing philosophy was never really about possession for its own sake. It was about using the ball to provoke pressure, then punishing whatever space that pressure leaves behind. That's why Barcelona's defensive line sits so high it borders on reckless, sometimes over 50 meters from their own goal. It's a dare. Win the ball back near the opponent's box, and the attack has already started before the opposition has even reset. Gordon and Adeyemi are not just fast players bolted onto that system. They are the system, accelerated. And the frightening part is that none of this even required replacing their most important player. Lamine Yamal remains the fixed point that makes the entire attack work. Defenders are pulled toward him because they have no choice. Leave him alone for even a second, and he punishes it himself. That gravity is exactly what creates the space Gordon and Adeyemi are built to exploit on the opposite side, running into gaps that only exist because the defense panicked about somebody else entirely. But for all that firepower, one problem still sits at the center of this entire project, and it's the one thing that could decide whether this becomes a Champions League winning side or another team that dominates Spain and stalls in Europe. Since Robert Lewandowski left, Barcelona have gone into a season without a recognized number 9. Ferran Torres can play centrally. Gordon and Adeyemi can fill in when needed, but neither of them was signed to do it every single week, and Flick knows it. Julian Alvarez remains the dream. A striker who drops into midfield to link play, presses center backs the second they touch the ball, and finishes with the same composure that decided matches for Atletico Madrid all season. He fits Flick's demands almost perfectly, mobile enough to drag defenders out of shape, disciplined enough to lead the press from the very front. The problem is, Atletico are refusing to sell at anywhere close to what Barcelona have offered, and the longer that standoff continues, the more it starts to feel like a gap this attack simply has to solve one way or another before the season truly begins. Which is exactly why this story is still unfinished. Barcelona have built arguably the fastest, deepest, most unpredictable attack in European football. Yamal on the right, Rafinha combining through the middle, Gordon and Adeyemi threatening to run in behind from either flank. Pedri dictating tempo from deep. On paper, it already looks like the most dangerous version of this club in over a decade. And yet the one position that could turn all of that speed and creativity into something Europe truly cannot stop still doesn't have a name on it. That is what makes this season so different from the last two. This isn't a club still trying to prove it belongs among Europe's elite anymore. Barcelona have already beaten Real Madrid 6 times in 7 meetings. They've already gone unbeaten at home for an entire league campaign. They've already built an attack fast enough to terrify any back four in world football. The only question left is whether the final piece arrives in time. Because if it does, this isn't just a Barcelona side capable of dominating Spain anymore. It's a Barcelona side capable of finally taking Europe back.